Hey guys, welcome to Action Sports and Culture. I'm super excited to be joined today by the co-founder and CEO of Kindhumans, Justin Wilkenfeld. Justin, how are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Ollie?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. Good to have you on. Where are you at the moment?
I'm in our home office here in Encinitas, California. So
Nice
just
one.
sort of balancing this between we have a small office in Encinitas for the team,
Okay.
but we did downsize during the pandemic, and so I spend quite a bit of time here.
Yeah. And has everyone kind of been working from home since
Yeah, we are.
this has
Some
been
of
going on?
our operations team largely works from the office, just because it's a little bit easier for that continuity for that group. But yeah, we've mostly been remote and making it work, best as we can. But I definitely miss that office culture, and I think that's kind of an interesting aspect to this whole pandemic and work from home sort of shift that we've been seeing. Because I'm a huge believer in company culture and just
Yeah.
having that, water cooler talk, if you will, and things like that, just kind of off the cuff, which you don't really get that when you're working remotely. So.
No, that's it. I guess when everything's sort of, all the whole Zoom meetings and it's all organized timeframes, right? So
Yeah,
those kind of bumping into someone outside or at a cafe, whatever it may be, that's kind of lost.
yeah. I guess it's a quick text now. You're like, hey, like this thing came to mind. And a little awkward, but it's all good. Make it work.
That's it. Well, I'd love to kind of go back into Kindhumans, but before that, if it's all right with you, to talk about your time at GoPro. And you started in there. It was 2007. Is that right?
Yeah, so 2007, I jumped ship from TD Ameritrade. I was in the finance world for about 7 years prior to joining GoPro.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole different story there, but yeah, my good college friend Nick Woodman, and a few others, his wife Jill, who also went to UC San Diego with us, as well as another friend Neil Dana. We're getting this little camera company off the ground, and a bunch of people thought I was nuts for leaving the security of my TD Ameritrade stock brokerage job. And yeah, I had multiple licenses and was kind of moving my way up in management, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel like it was feeding my soul, and I was
Yeah.
searching for something different, and GoPro happened to be that thing. And as it turned out, Nick was needing some help with customer service,
Okay.
and it just randomly a conversation. I was like, dude, I want to work for you. It'd be great to join the team. I'll do sales for free, like whatever you need, but that wasn't really panning out. And then one day he's like, man, I got to answer these customer service emails. And I was like, tell me more. And I guess at TD Ameritrade, I was working with a small service team, and really
Mm-hmm.
it was like high level customer service. And so that's how I got my start at GoPro, is to build out the customer service department. But as it goes in most startups, you wear a lot of different hats. And
Yep.
I slowly but surely started to gravitate more towards the sports and lifestyle marketing aspect of the business. And probably about a year in, I was managing our trade shows and events, and really was the point person for incoming sponsorship requests. And so that's kind of how I started to cut my teeth in the action sports world. And really just it was kind of a funny thing, because I don't think I had a box to think outside of. And so I had some freedom to kind of explore and do things that I might not have done otherwise, had I known better.
Yeah. And were you sort of looking after the whole of the lifestyle marketing, so everything from sort of building up the team internally, looking at ambassadors and like you
Yeah,
said, trade shows, like looking after all of it, right?
soup to nuts. I mean, it was I would literally load up the Penske truck with our trade show gear. I would
Mm-hmm.
go build the booth. Meanwhile, I was actually still handling customer service kind of at night, but really just started to review incoming sponsorship opportunities, and then it became my job to really seed the cameras out to influencers, to TV producers, to really find our path forward into the event world, so that we could really raise awareness for the brand, as well
Mm-hmm.
as just building community. And I think that was such a wonderful part of my experience, was not with athletes and event organizers, but also with our distributors and our retailers, and through the trade show world, really got to know that side of the business, and just how important those relationships are as well to help build your brand and to really build those moats that you can kind of lean in on to help build your business.
And what would you say, like, some of the most important things were from taking it from that start phase to then, I guess, growing it into, quite a large company, and then obviously going IPO, and how was that whole process?
Man, it was a grind. I mean, it was a lot of hard work. I'd say blood, sweat, and tears. On the outside looking in, I think it looked like we were, like a rocket ship, but I think we always tried to project that we were a little bit bigger than we actually were. And that strategy kind of worked. People were like, "Oh man, we got to hop on this GoPro train," but really it was, boots on the ground. I'd spend 150, 200 days a year on the road for a few years there, and really just getting to know a lot of different people in a lot of different industries. And that was kind of the upside, as well as one of the challenges of GoPro in particular, was that the product worked for so many things. And from a timing perspective, with YouTube and Facebook and, kind of the rise of social media, the world was thirsting for content, and we had a great vehicle to take you into some settings and to really immerse you into the world of an athlete, or even in like professional TV production and stunt work and things like that. For them, the camera was practically disposable in terms of being, $300 HD camera. And so really it was just a lot of hard work, a lot of grinding, a lot of developing a vast network of distributors and retailers around the world. And just kind of one by one, meeting different people that wanted to jump on board. And for me, it was always about finding the win-win. So, the great thing was we had a product that could help an athlete capture some amazing feats and be able to share that with the world. So me giving somebody a free camera in exchange for some content that we could then put on our channels was just an amazing, just perfect opportunity as a business. And I think that, we were also the customer. We love to do it. We surf or snowboard, mountain bike, and actually participated in so many of the activities that we were selling people, the cameras to. So I think we really understood the customer on a deeper level than maybe some of these other companies that tried to come in later, whether it was Sony or otherwise. I always felt like they were making a camera for someone else, whereas we were 100% making the cameras for ourselves and our own escapades as much as the athletes.
And would you say, like, being authentic with everyone within the company, taking part in these sports, actually using the cameras and being active, that's something that helped propel the brand?
I think 100%. I think that the authenticity just did ring true. And I think that even as you looked at how we hired people, we hired friends and family. Nick, I think the first 9 hires that really kind of propelled us to that hockey stick growth. Most of us were friends and family. To the point where it's like sisters, like Nick's sisters were helping with social media. I think 5 out of the first 6 of us went to UC San Diego together. And so there was a level of trust in each other. And as much as you hear the horror stories, I'll just say, straight up, it had its challenges, but it was also a beautiful thing. And I think part of the special sauce was that authenticity rang true within our team. And then you had these little tribes that started to kind of form because, somebody would have a friend at USC film school. And then, Abe Kislevitz, for example, was on the USC ski team, and we hired him after he graduated, and then he enlisted a few of his friends. We had a whole crew from UCLA. And just, then we would get one hire from another company that was like a friend of a friend. And then all of a sudden we'd have 5 people from that company come on board. And so it was really kind of a very organic growth and development process for many years. And I definitely feel like that set us apart. And like I said, was part of the special sauce.
Nice one. And now, looking back sort of over a decade there, are there any kind of standout projects And you were mentioning community. I mean, is there any sort of things that you look back on that you're particularly proud of at your time there?
Wow, I mean, there were so many cool projects that we got to participate in. I mean, a couple that stood out to me. We got to participate with Ronnie Renner's world record jump back in Santa Monica on the pier, where he did like a quarter pipe jump and I think got nearly 60 feet of air over the ramp on his motorcycle, and uh, that to me was just like, we're on the big stage now. Like we got to kind of piggyback that amazing event, but also provide that perspective of him launching up over the whole Santa Monica pier and the crowd. Some amazing photos popped up on different publications, and I got to be behind the scenes of that moment and kind of hanging with Renner and some of his crew, and got to know them better. And then they did another jump in Chicago as well. But the moto scene in general to me was it was something completely foreign. I had no business around that sport. As a kid, my mom was like, "No motorcycles for you," like they're too dangerous. So that was really a big moment, and that kind of we were able to help capture that history, and I think that was just a special thing. And then also that kind of dovetailed into Supercross, which has it's multi-level why that one stands out to me. But again, like kind of Supercross, X Games, and just being integrated into these moments. Being able to capture course previews, being able to capture what it's like to be on the, to be the rider essentially, and seeing those perspectives from the races was something that we were able to bring to life that really hadn't been seen before.
Yeah.
And those stand out. And then also I met my wife, Susie, through Supercross. She actually cold called GoPro to see if we would sponsor Supercross, and got connected with me, and we ended up doing that deal. And then a year later or so, it, kind of shifted gears, if you will. And that was just obviously a very special thing for me.
Nice. And what did you do after GoPro? So what was the kind of transition from when you left?
Yeah, I mean, for me, towards the end of my career at GoPro, I was, on the cusp of starting my family, starting to have kids and whatnot. And I really wanted to focus a lot of my energy on that. And so I kind of pulled myself back off the road and moved more into a management role. And actually closed my career out as the vice president of brand integrity, which was an interesting role because brand integrity kind of touches everything. And as much as I was trying to like pull back, it actually kind of intensified quite a bit in some ways. But I also started working on the GoPro For A Cause program, which still runs today. And we recognized that we had millions of people watching, and we had this amazing platform and group of people producing amazing content. So why not try to amplify and raise awareness for causes through our platform that we'd built? So GoPro For A Cause was lending cameras and sometimes production support, as well as our platform to kind of publish and amplify what these causes were doing. So that became kind of my passion project that I was really kind of starting to focus more energy on. But as a public company, and as one that kind of had some stumbles out of the gate, I'd say, still making great cameras, but definitely struggling with this like quarterly beat and having to answer to shareholders and profitability and things like that. So GoPro For A Cause kind of took a backseat, and as it should. I think as a publicly traded company, that it's something that we had to do. But as that sort of wound down, I found that I really wanted to kind of take a break. I needed a break. I mean, I was doing 18-hour days for a long time and really burning it at both ends. And I was just tired, and I needed a reset and a refresh. And so I ended up leaving in 2017 and moving into a consulting role, and still, friends with everybody, but definitely just needed to kind of step away. And in that process, I just started to work with some nonprofits on my own. and just doing a little bit of consulting and learning about the very large marketing gap that exists in the world of nonprofits. And then simultaneously, this kind of dovetailed into Kind Humans, in that my wife, Susie, was really focusing a lot of her energy on building our family. And, we had some health issues in our oldest daughter, Quinn, just with some allergies and some food issues, as well as finding out that we had some toxicity in the water supply that was giving her a rash. And so we started to learn about things along those lines, and whether it was a whole house filter for your water supply, or learning about organic foods versus processed foods, and just starting to be more aware of what we're putting in and on our bodies. Could be sunscreens, etc. And so Susie started to become a resource for her friends and family. And as I'm seeing it from the outside, kind of looking in, I'm like, man, you got to start putting a website together, or like a blog or something, because she would keep kind of having to go back and answer questions. And I'm like, you just need to be able to send something to your friends, so you're not having to redo this every time.
Was she doing all the research on it as well then, or?
She was, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, she spent, now it's been 8 years, but really just self-motivated. I mean, as a new parent, you are motivated to try to figure out how to keep your children alive. So it's pretty important. But yeah, she started to do the research on her own. She started to find some resources that provided a lot of great content, like Environmental Working Group, EWG, for example, rates the toxicity in a ton of products out there. I mean, hundreds of thousands of products even, and just rates them. And it's like, they're a nonprofit, and they do a good job of kind of piquing your curiosity, if you will, to start to understand more about the products that you're consuming. And for me, I just started to see that industry was up and coming, that there are a lot of great organizations coming out, but they're small, and they're having to battle these big brands, these big companies, and just sort of the landscape of marketing these days is a challenge. And so for me, as a kind of sales and marketing oriented person, I started to see opportunities to kind of fill that gap and fill that void. And so Kind Humans was kind of born out of my desire to do some philanthropic work, combined with my wife's research into products, and then our just kind of mutual desire to kind of elevate and amplify that and just participate in it. I mean, we don't plan to be the one and only source for these things by any means, but we certainly feel like we've got an opportunity to help amplify and hopefully accelerate what we see as a growing movement of kind humans that are trying to make the difference and trying to improve the solutions that are being offered to consumers.
Yeah. And what was like the initial like business idea around Kind Humans? Was it to have like a marketplace and to have community? Was that sort of kind of the goal, or is it changed like since you've?
Yeah, it's evolved. It's evolved a bit, but it started. I'd say the business idea, the original website name that I had in mind was lesstoxiclife.com. And it was very straightforward. I believe in deliberate marketing to a large extent, but I was also trying to come up with an LLC name as I was trying to create my own consulting business for around nonprofits and things like that. And ironically, Susie said something one day after meeting with some new neighbors when we moved back from Northern California to San Diego, and there was a big conversation around schools for our kids and where we should put our kids, and there were several opinions. And while it's important, we're also talking about like 4 and 6 year olds.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, okay, well, it's clean, safe, like healthy environment. I'm not super worried about like the scholastic merits of like preschool. And so Susie came back, and we were talking about it. And she's like, man, I don't know. Like, I don't really care if our kids are the smartest, the fastest, that they win everything. She's like, I just hope they're kind humans.
Yeah.
And that sparked in my head. I was like, Kind Humans kind of has a nice ring to it. And I looked it up, and kindhumans.com and .org were both available. And while I didn't know exactly how this was going to start to play out, I felt like it was prudent to swoop up those websites. And that's really how it started with the brand. And I'm a brand guy. I mean, GoPro was so much about building a brand. I mean, we had great products, and camera companies still producing amazing products. But I think what stood out was we built a brand, and people were excited to promote the brand and put their stickers in the shot or rock the shirts or the hats and things like that. And so that's where my brain kind of gravitates towards. And it's kind of a nice yin and yang with Susie, because she's all about the product, and really has spent a tremendous amount of time researching it. And so, I think the business was about lesstoxiclife.com and really trying to reinforce the solutions that brands were coming up with, that were less toxic, for your body, for your health, also thinking about the health of the environment around us. And so the marketplace idea really came to fruition because I saw the gap. I mean, it was like there's this report that our water supply was bad in Half Moon Bay, or not bad, but definitely tainted, let's just say. And there's a couple ways you can approach it. You could definitely fight policy, and I'm so glad people are fighting policy and trying to clean up water supplies and things like that. But that's like political and like a major uphill climb. I'm looking at this as this opportunity. If you sell water filters, there's a report that says the water's bad, and there's a customer that could use that product. And so why aren't more people going door to door trying to sell these things and really kind of push these solutions that can help you live a healthier life? And so that's kind of like how it started to progress. And even when you think about the name Kind Humans, it's not about us like building this brand so much as the fact that there is a world of kind humans out there. There's a growing movement of people trying to produce products and innovate and provide solutions to their fellow humans, as well as just the nonprofit side. So there's this big community out there that exists, but I think it's underserved in terms of having a share of voice or the attention of the broader population. And so that's really our goal, is to help amplify and accelerate what we see as a growing movement. And you see it happening all around us with sustainability conversations and whatnot. But with the background of GoPro, I feel like in the people that we have in our team and around us, I feel like there's a big opportunity to help pull these themes into more of a mainstream culture, by amplifying that and doing it the way we know best, which is working with influential people that have amazing platforms and talents, and they use them for good.
Nice one. And it's just about raising the awareness, right? Like, I guess initially, and like you said, I mean, everyone, or like deep down, they want to do something good, and it's just sort of finding out about these things, or finding out about what isn't, and what may be causing harm.
Totally. Yeah. And I think, one of the good things that we're trying to do is, there's a lot of noise out there, and it's very challenging actually to navigate the sea of information for anything these days. I mean, look at how hard it is to find truth. But and not that we have like the end all be all answers to everything, but one thing that we have done is really try to focus on curation. And so we've got a little over 1,000 products on our website now. And they've all been carefully curated. We have a high set of standards in our Kind Humans credo, in terms of toxicity, ingredients, sourcing, how things are made. And we are trying to identify brands that are trying to do things the right way, and it's not greenwashing, hopefully, and we're only as good as the research is able to do, but we do spend a lot of kind of thoughtful consideration on all of these different elements, and we're trying to hold a high standard because we believe that it is going to matter for the long-term health of humanity. And if we can help set the table and participate in shifting our culture towards really being more mindful of what we put in and on our bodies, the impact on our environment, the impact on communities, and identifying those brands and companies that are really trying to push those agendas forward, like that's the change. I mean, I think that's what we're really hoping to initiate and move forward, and just like I said earlier, kind of pique people's curiosity to ask more questions.
Yeah.
And then we're just trying to shorten the distance by offering a set of solutions that tackles your basic lifestyle needs, from your home to your travel, just kind of personal stuff that you use each and every day, and being more thoughtful about it, and not just accepting that these big brands, that the FDA and things like that actually can't like have our back. Because I think part of the challenge is that in the world of profit, and that's a challenge for any business to really kind of balance profit versus impact. And I think that we're trying to set the table the right way. We're a B corporation. We're 1% for the planet. We're climate neutral. And we are trying to make sure that the culture of our business maintains a level of integrity that can stand the test of time, and that we don't succumb to profits over people and the planet.
Nice. And on another sort of personal project or note, I mean, it was the anniversary of the Paddle for Unity.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 1 year anniversary last month. How have you sort of seen like what have been the positive impacts within the community over the past year?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think that the event itself was, I mean, that hit like some power chords in me. I mean, growing up in Del Mar, I think there were 7 Black students at my high school of about 2,000 students. And so it was a very kind of odd and unique upbringing. I'm adopted. My parents are both white. My dad's Jewish. My mom's Christian. I mean, there's this kind of multifaceted, like melting pot aspect to how I grew up. And so but at the same time, I've faced the challenges of being a Black person in America. Certainly not to the extent that a lot of communities have faced, but one of the kind of cool things that came together with the original event, it made a lot of us reflect, and I think a lot of it was about Black Lives Matters, but at the same time, who we were as a group of people, as friends, a diverse group of people from all walks of life. We kind of centered in on unity, and really, it's like what's the message that we want to put in the sand, and kind of like make that kind of like announcement to the world. And we landed on unity. And I'm so just grateful for that collective energy that decided on that, because I think that stood out. Even as I looked at like the Reuters images, like on their feed, for example, on Instagram, a lot of dark images of riots and turmoil and things that were pretty dark. But in the center of it was this like image of unity, and this coming together of the Encinitas population and beyond. I mean, there were people coming from LA and stuff as well. And we centered on unity, and it was really like, I'm just so thankful for that, because it really kind of drove home the point for me, just as an American, as a human, that unity and humanity is the key to how we solve so many of our collective issues. And we need to see past the kind of superficial identity boxes that we're often kind of forced into. And so, what was, that moment was special. And then I feel like it helped spark a greater awareness, certainly in the Encinitas community, and groups like Encinitas for Equality. You have like 3 white women came together and created this nonprofit that is trying to bridge the gap and create more access and more diversity within the Encinitas community. That has never happened before. In my lifetime, I've never really experienced that, and maybe it has, but certainly not to the same extent that we're seeing today. You have groups like Umar de Colores, I'm blanking on some of the others, but I mean, local organizations as well as existing organizations like Stoked that we've worked with through Kindhumans, and as well as GoPro, that are really trying to increase diversity and inclusion through experiences, and through doing the legwork on the ground to help find the solutions to help enable that access to some of the communities that have been underserved or just underrepresented. And that's just awesome. I mean, I can't say enough about those people that are really just boots on the ground, working hard Monday through Friday, if not 7 days a week, to try to initiate the change. There were, vigils and all of that around the events with George Floyd, but I mean, here we are over a year later, and these groups are still there, and they're really continuing to push those agendas to raise awareness, to raise funding, and they're working with school systems. They're working with all sorts of local other nonprofits that are really trying to get more people out there so that it becomes more normal. And I think that's really something that I took away, is that we have to do that work to normalize representation and diversity, so that hopefully it becomes a non-issue one day, and we're just all there having a good time out in this beautiful world that we live in.
Yeah. And do you see that across sort of within action sports and also outside? I mean, businesses, like, is that sort of something that you see that is happening?
I do. I mean, I think it's an interesting challenge, because I think that this stuff takes time, and I think that what's happening, and you see a lot more representation in advertising. You see some new sponsorships of athletes of color that weren't there before, and definitely that effort is going to affect the culture. But who runs the show? Like, who are the business leaders within these organizations? And I think that's an area that still lacks diversity. I think that if you look at the boardrooms, they're starting to see some shifts there. I mean, I know that like Salema Masekela was added to the board of Burton, for example, and I think that's great. I mean, I think that the only way we're going to have a broader sense of that broader community is if we include different perspectives, men, women, people of color, people that, white people too. I mean, you need all of those perspectives in the room to be able to have that more holistic approach, and just to share, talk story and understand each other better.
Yeah.
And so I think that's, it is happening. I mean, I'm excited. Some brands are, I think, doing better than others in terms of doing it in an authentic way. But nonetheless, I mean, whether it's on the surface or not, the fact that there is a push to do it is important, and I'm excited to see that, and I'm excited to see where we land. I mean, like I said, I think it takes a while. So, where are we going to be at in like 10 years? That's where the rubber hits the road, and we're going to know if this work that we're doing is really making a big impact.
And what projects have Kindhumans got coming up, or have you got any exciting collaborations that you guys are working on at the moment?
Yeah, well, that's funny. I'm looking in
that you can
here. It's
say?
Like grind for life. So I got this cool T-shirt that we collaborated with Mike Rogers from Grind for Life, and I don't know if you're familiar with Mike, but he's a cancer survivor twice over, and he lost his eye, and part of his face had to be reconstructed. And I mean, he's in his 50s now, and he's still out there ripping on a skateboard. And he's really been helping cancer survivors. And so we did this collab T-shirt with Mike, and he's got a bunch of his friends. It's actually dropping on Wednesday this week, but we're excited. I mean, a big portion of the proceeds of every sale goes to support Grind for Life and the efforts that Mike does on the ground. We've got a project with Untitled Chapter coming up as well. Same goal. It's to help fund their efforts to get a more diverse lineup out in the surf, and love the efforts that Untitled Chapter is doing. And then there's another group called One Flower Project, and they're working on the pollinators, and they're really trying to get into school systems and working with teachers on curriculum designed to help expose the kids to gardening, and growing flowers and really bringing pollinators into the world. And working with a guy named Vic Chabra and Joel Harper as well, who has a pretty famous brother, Ben. And it's cool. It's just rootsy projects like this. People on the ground making things happen. I love to support the smaller projects, to be honest. And as we're growing, I think it's just a great part of building community.
Yeah.
And you can certainly write checks to some of these bigger organizations, but so much of the money goes towards the administrative side of things. And we know that with these smaller projects, that the bang for the buck is really there, and that the money goes to really help people. So we're excited about those. And we have another one with Melin coming out. We've got the second round of our Kindness Pass It On hats with Melin. So pretty excited about that. That was a really popular hat. And in any of these collabs, we always give back 3% of sales to nonprofits through every sale through our website. But with these collabs, we generally are giving a significantly higher percentage back to the causes. And that's one thing we're always trying to do. It's build community, create a platform of conscious consumption, and then always give back to causes.
That's cool. And what's the best way to, if people want to follow Kind Humans, how can they go about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, check us out on Instagram. We've got kindhumans_movement on Instagram, or just go to our website, kindhumans.com, and check it out. We've got a lot of cool stuff, for your home and your personal lifestyle. We're also just trying to find cool, innovative products that people are coming up with, and help tell those stories, not just about the products, but also about the people behind them. Because to me, that's the inspiration, is that you have just amazing humans doing awesome things for the better good. And frankly, I just think we need more of that in our mainstream media culture. So let's do it.
Absolutely. And if people want to get in contact with you personally, what's the best way?
Shoot me an email, justin@kindhumans.com. I'd love to hear from anybody, and let's talk about what we can do to make the world a better place.
Awesome. Justin, thanks so much for your time. It's been great hearing about everything that you're doing at Kind Humans, and also hearing about the history, and then how that's all kind of transferring across. And yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on all the projects that you guys are going to be working on, and it's going to be exciting.
No, I appreciate it, Ollie. Really stoked to kind of get the message out there. I appreciate what you guys are doing, just talking to culture, because I think culture is such an important element that people often overlook, and you guys are doing a great job of really kind of shedding light on that cultural element of action sports. So thank you.
Thanks, man. Cool.
Cheers.